Heavenly Father, heal our land. Heavenly Father, stretch forth your mighty hand.
This is Called Out Gospel Radio in Ocho St. Anne, Jamaica. Time now for Land Matters with Attorney at Law Gloria Brown. Every Tuesday right here on Called Out Gospel Radio, 7:30 p.m. Jamaica time. Tune in and be blessed. Mrs. Brown, is over to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening to the Called Out Gospel Radio family. Welcome to another in the series of Land Matters. You're listening to Called Out Gospel Radio, the family radio station, with the aim of empowering, educating our listeners. Recognize that when you have knowledge, you have a lot of power. So the aim is to give you as much knowledge as we can in relation to land matters. If you want to communicate with me, you may send a text message to 876-868-5109. That's 876-868-5109 or 876-535-8186. 876-535-8186. I'm Gloria Brown. I'm an attorney with an office in Ocho Rios, which is where Called Out Gospel Radio is stationed, as well as an office in Kingston. And the aim of this station is to empower lives of persons and to positively impact the lives of our listeners. I want to follow up on a question that came last week that I was not able to answer because it came at the end of the program. And the listener stated that he or she does not understand the lawyer term joint tenants and tenants in common. And that was a topic that I had covered earlier. So I just want to explain those two terms again. When a person is buying property, and when persons are buying property, so if the property is being bought by two or more persons, then the title will have to state the tenancy. That means the title will state how the parties must hold the property. And remember, you can buy property, 100 people can buy one property, 1 million, 10 million, 1 billion people can buy a property. So let me simplify it though by saying, if two persons should buy a property, then they have to decide what tenancy they want. They can be joint tenants or they can be tenants in common. Those are the two I'm going to be looking at. We also have something called a life tenant, which I just mentioned earlier, or which I'll mention a little later. But the main two tenancies are tenants in common or joint tenants. When parties buy property as joint tenants, it means that the survivor will get the property. So John and Mary buy a property and they are joint tenants and it is written on the title. So when you call your lawyer, you call me to explain something to me, you make sure you have the title with you, so you can tell me what the tenancy is. So John and Mary buy property as joint tenants. John makes a will and wills his share to his daughter, but John dies first. There's nothing for the daughter to claim. The property will be owned by Mary because she's the survivor. When persons are joint tenants, the principle of survivorship operates. It's like a joint account. When one dies, it goes to the other. So I always tell my listeners to use the term joint tenants to help you joint account to help you to remember the tenancy. So when persons are joint tenants, it's like a joint account. Whoever lives the longer or the longest will own it. So 5 people come together and they buy a property as joint tenants. The property will go to the one who died last. So suppose, for example, 2 persons. So when persons come into my office, if John and Mary should come into my office and they say they are buying a property, even though they are married, I will not take it for granted that they want to be joint tenants. I will say to them, Mary, if you should pass, who do you want to get your share? Mary might say, I want my sister to get my share because I don't have a child. John might say, I want my son to get my share. Then I know they do not want to be joint tenants because each of them would like somebody other than the other to inherit their share. So they want to be tenants in common. And remember, it's written on the title. So when persons are tenants in common, John and Mary buy a property and they are tenants in common. If John should pass, then John's share will not automatically go to Mary. it would go to whoever John willed it to, or John did not make a will, then it would go according to what we call the laws of intestacy. It would go to John's next of kin. So it would go to John's children if he had children. If he didn't have children, then it would go to his brothers and sisters of the full blood, same mother, same father. So the two terms, I hope the listener is really on this evening as well. So the terms tenants in common, joint tenants. Joint tenant means the survivor will get the property. Whoever lives the longer or the longest will get the property. Tenants in common means that persons can will their share. And remember, when you are tenants in common, you don't have to be equal. So you can have one person who owning 9/10, one owning 1/10. You might have one person owning a half, the other a half. You might have one owning 3/4, the other a quarter. So that's a good thing about tenants in common. It allows persons to have different shares. So for example, if John should say I put 3/4 of the money, he might say 1/3 share. Okay, so we call it 3 undivided 1/4 shares, and Mary would have just 1/4 share. So I hope my listener understands. Another question that someone had asked, and please remember you're listening to Cordo Gospel Radio on Land Matters. And if you have a question, please send a WhatsApp message to 876-868-5109 or 876-535-8186. And I believe you can also send a text message. And please invite other persons to listen to Land Matters on Cordo Gospel Family Radio. And Land Matters is aired every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. It's half an hour, 7:30 to 8 o'clock. And I note that a listener is saying that, okay, that the program is not for an hour, but just keep listening. So, okay, I appreciate that and thank you for that. But it's aired every Tuesday at between 7:30 and 8 on Call Out Gospel Radio, which is located in Ocho Rios, Jamaica, impacting lives positively. And welcome everyone listening to Land Matters. And remember, you can also join on the Google Play Store or on the YouTube channel. Please send your feedback or please give us a call at 876. I'm sorry. You can call, I suspect, or send a WhatsApp message to 876-868-5109 or 876-535-8186. So I hope my listeners have been properly educated as it relates to tenancy. I always say to my listeners that my aim is to create village lawyers, okay, for persons to get the knowledge, become village lawyers, so that we are able to pass on the information. So it's not every little simple thing, that you don't have the knowledge of. Okay, as Jamaicans, we need much more. We need to be more knowledgeable. That's a little challenge I have with a lot of us. We are not very knowledgeable in relation to basic things. I've compared us to some of the other Caribbean islands where the average person is so knowledgeable. But a lot of the information that the average Jamaican has is what we call anecdotal. It's not really reality. Like persons will say, I'm paying the tax or own the land, and there's nothing, nothing don't go so. There's no legal basis for owning property because you pay taxes. But the average Jamaican, you can't convince them about that. You can't tell them that if you make a will, you're not going to die. So we really need to get in the know and in the 21st century in terms of our thinking if we're going to become a first world nation. Please remember the text line 876-868-5109 or 876-535-8186. You can send a WhatsApp message or a text message to that number, which is a number for the Called Out Gospel Radio. Last week, I stopped. I was interrupted. Well, not interrupted, but I had to leave what I was talking about in order to answer the questions that came in. So this week I want to continue what I was talking about. I was advising my clients on how to go about getting a title for land. And the land you have, maybe you bought that little piece, or it was willed to you, or you got it by deed of gift. Somebody gave it to you. Or you have just been living there forever. You you live in the community and it has been a piece of land that was there, maybe owned by long time relatives. However, you are on the piece of land. The first thing I want you to do is to start by surveying it and make sure the person you employ as your surveyor is a commissioned land surveyor. And it's easy to, there's a listing of the commissioned land surveyors online. So you can just put in commissioned land surveyors Jamaica and you'll see the name. Make sure the person you employ is commissioned. That means this person is licensed. And you'll see it on their website again, the Land Surveyors Association of Jamaica. To make sure whoever you are employing is in fact legitimate. After you have surveyed the land, then usually I say to my clients, ask the surveyor as soon as he or she has deposited the plan in the survey department to get a copy. As soon as the plan has a number, get a copy because we can use the copy to start preparing your documents because it's taken a little while for the plans to come out of the survey department. And a lot of times we complain that the surveyor took our money and we can't get the document. But the reality is that it really is taking a long time for the plans to be processed and having that same problem in terms of even applications for titles that I've put into the survey department. I've put in the titles office. They are waiting on the survey department to approve the plans before they can give you the notice to advertise. And they're also waiting on the survey department to prepare the titles and put in the annexing the plans to the titles. We're having a great delay in terms of titling and in terms of getting the plans processed. So even before you're in a hurry, get your property surveyed before you really need to be rushing it. Because a lot of times our clients come in and they come in because they realize there's a problem. So they come for us to put out a fire when we're asking persons to survey the land before the fire starts, survey the land before the problems start, before the evil days come when you go to pay your taxes and realize somebody has paid it already. Or you try to survey the land and somebody comes and objects. Or you get a notice to vacate the piece of land you have been on for 40 odd years. So get the land surveyed. Everybody should have a survey diagram. And the thing is, a lot of times persons don't have anything to show me that they own the property when I'm getting a title for them. But they have an old survey diagram and that's wonderful. You surveyed it 15 years ago and you have the old diagram. That's wonderful evidence of ownership. So it's good if even if you don't intend to start your titling process now, get the survey. And remember that after 7 years, the survey diagram expires. That doesn't mean it's dead, you can just get a surveyor as long as the surveyor comes in and can find the pegs and the boundaries have not changed. The surveyor will do a declaration and that will update your diagram for another 7 years. So you have your survey diagram. Wonderful. I'm on my way to getting a title for you. What else will I need from you? I will need you to tell me the names of the persons you want to put on the title. So I'm going to want you to give me name, address, occupation, TRN, and age. Name, age, address, occupation, TRN of the persons whose names you want to appear on your title. And remember, you can put any number of persons on the title. But be careful of who you put on your title because you can't put them on and come and say, Miss Brown, I wanted to take off my daughter's name because she don't have any manners to me and she's not helping me. If you have put her name on that title, she has to give permission to take it off. Even though she might not even know her name was on it, she went on as a minor for her name to come off. Now she's an adult, she has to give permission. Or you'd have to go to court to get an order from the court that her name is to be taken off. So be careful who you put on your survey on your title. Also be careful who you put on your survey diagram as well. Because you put my name on the survey diagram because I was your agent getting the survey done. When you are doing your title, I have to sign up a paper to say I consent for you to get the title in your name and not in my name. So it's important, even the very name you put on your survey diagram. And remember, when the surveyor is going to survey your property, the surveyor is going to have to serve notices to your neighbors. So you need to know the names of the adjoining neighbors so the surveyor can give you the notice to serve. And when you are surveying or somebody is surveying a property and you are not the owner, you can also object to the survey. You can say, I'm objecting to that survey because XYZ. All right, it's my land. The person is breaching my boundary. They are over too much on all of those things. If have any reason, persons can give, and the surveyor will just sign up a notice of objection, and then the matter goes to court for the court to decide how to proceed. So those are some of the things you need to know about the survey. And you need to tell me whose names you want on the title. You might say your name and the names of your children, etc. But I always will ask the clients, the child or the children you are putting on the title, do they have houses already? If are they in Jamaica? Are they paying their NHT contribution? Because if the child you have put on the title wants to benefit from NHT, the NHT benefit wants to get an NHT benefit later on, then the child might not be able to, because the NHT may say the child already owns property. So be careful who you put on your title or who you put on the application when you're getting the title, because you might prevent the child. And you might say one child has a house already, so let me put on that one. Not a good idea, because when you're ready to put on the others, that one might say no. So when in doubt, if you want all of them to get it and all of them not in a position to, you put it in your name alone and make a will willing it to them. And when they have got their houses, or maybe migrate and say we're not going to use NHG, then you can add them. But it's a dangerous thing to put on one child when you really want others to get. Because I have so many situations where parents have put on children and now they want to take them off, and children are objecting to come off. Very, very important to note. So I'm going to want your diagram. I'm going to want name, age, address, occupation, TRN of the persons you want to go on the title. The persons you are putting on the title, I also want us to discuss the tenancy. Most times when parents are asked me to prepare a title and they want to add the children, I encourage the parents to take a life interest. So that's another part of the type of tenancy. So the title will read, to Mary Brown for life, and after death to Peter and Paul, who are the children. I do it like that because Mary Brown, as the life tenant, can sell the property without Peter and Paul, or without, we call them remainder men. So without the permission of the people who are to get the property after her death. And usually we get them to sign a paper giving permission for Mary to sell and to keep the proceeds without sharing it with them. So that's another thing. Who are you going to put on the title? Another thing you also need is, you're going to need the names of two persons over 50 years old who have known the land for more than 30 years. You're listening to Cordo Gospel Radio with attorney Gloria Brown on Land Matters. The text line 876-868-5109. That's the text or WhatsApp line. 876-868-5109 or 876-535-8186. Land Matters is aired on Call Gospel Radio every Tuesday between 7:30 and 8 a.m. And remember, Call Gospel Radio is located in Ocho St. Anne, and the aim is to impact lives positively. And we welcome everyone joining us via the radio stream or on the app, or in the Google Play Store, or on YouTube. Thank you so much for continuing to listening and to supporting Call Gospel Family Radio, where there are many offerings. Land Matters is just one of the many offerings. And we invite you to take some time out to tune into this radio station called Out Gospel Radio. And remember, my name is Gloria Brown, and you are listening to Land Matters. So, I started out at the beginning of the program by explaining joint tenants and tenants in common. Remember, I said when people are joint tenants, the survivor will get the property if one should die. So 10 people buy a property as joint tenants, so one dies, then it will be owned by the other 9. Then another one passes, then the 8, then until the last one, and then to be owned by the last one. When that last one dies, it will be given to that one's estate, whoever they will it to, or whoever is the next of kin. Please remember the text line, the WhatsApp line. You can even call into that number, 876-868-5109. 876-868-5109. So you have got the survey diagram. You have given me information whose names must be on the title. You have found your 2 declarants, 2 persons who have known the land for 30 years or more. So these people must be 50 years old. They don't have to have known the land from the 1930s or so on. So sometimes from they have known the land, you have been the owner of it, and that's good enough. That's good enough. And if I'm doing the title for you, I don't need them to write anything for me. I just need name, age, address, occupation. I will prepare what they are to sign after you have given me evidence of your ownership. That's what we come up on now. I'm going to need from you documentation to show that you are the owner. How did you become the owner of this property? And That's when you're going to have to start finding all those old papers that you have put away. So if you have the old tax papers and you don't have anything else, that will help. At least it shows you have been paying tax for 12 years. So it ties you to the land, doesn't make you the owner, but it's evidence. You have had electricity for a long time, water. All of those old things will come to help you. You have a receipt to show you bought it, or a deed of gift from somebody, a will where it was willed to you, a letter where your mom wrote to say you are to take the piece of land, the half a square near to the breadfruit tree and Mr. Jones' line, you have something. Because remember, a gift of land must be in writing. So word of mouth cannot give you land, which is why we will ask for any old paper you have to show you have been there all this time. Because a lot of persons have nothing. Mama gave it to me before she passed, but she gave me by word of mouth. And remember, Mama's mouth is no longer there to give the word. So that's when we run into problems. Sometimes persons might say, my mother gave it to me, but my mother is abroad. She never gave me any documentation. But Mama has documentation in her name. I would prefer if Mama made that application for title and asked for the title to come out in your name. It's a stronger application when the person who has had it for some time can be able to make the application. You have old tax paper paid by Mama, and that's another thing too as well. If you know you're going to try to claim the property that was given to you or you bought it, when you are paying the taxes, even though the taxes might still be in the name of the person you bought it from, in the paid by, put your name. You go to the tax office, tell them paid by, and put your name. And a lot of us paying the taxes online now. But when it's paid online, remember we get a receipt. A receipt comes over email. So print those receipts and keep them, or you can always go back in the email and find them later on. But that is important because documentation is key. Please remember the text line is 876-868-5109 or 876-535-8186. And if you want me to get a title for you, please just WhatsApp me the word title to 876-387-3183. 876-387-3183. Just WhatsApp the word title to that number if you want me to assist you in getting a title for your land. A title is important. Another thing that we're going to need from you is you need to get a tax certificate. But the good thing is that in recent times, the Registration of Titles Act has been amended. So you don't have to pay up the taxes at the beginning of the application because at least it gives you the opportunity for you to say, wait, let me not pay the tax until I see if I'm getting through. Because when if the application is approved and we advertise when we're ready to pay the final fee, then you know, yes, I'm 90% there. Remember, anything can happen between. You can have many a slip between the cup and the lip. So anything could happen where, God forbid, somebody lodges a caveat even though you have advertised and so on. Anything can happen. So in situations like those, you when the application is in order and you think that yes, I'm going to be getting the title, then at that stage we ask you to pay up the taxes. Okay, you just said okay, a text message. You just said something interesting about tenants in common about the share. So if I have 3/4, then why can't I select which part of the home if I have the greater portion? Even if you have 99 over 100 and the other person has 1 over 100, it's what we call is an undivided share. So there's no particular portion for you. And remember that title is not for land, it's not for house, title is for land. So you can't say I'm going to take 3 bedrooms. It doesn't work like that. The title is for land. So you have no greater right, even though you have 99% of the property. You cannot choose which section is yours. Thanks for that, clear. Is there a difference between a valuation report and the questions are coming in now? Is there a difference between a valuation report and a surveyor's report? Yes, two totally different things. Valuation report, as the term suggests, says the value of the property, how much you can sell it for. A surveyor's report is going to be a drawing of the property to show you where the property is located, okay, if any building is on it, etc. So one goes on the ground and look at what is on the ground in terms of building and so on, and what the title says must be on the ground. The other one says how much you can sell the place. One is value, one is drawing. but I object to a surveyor coming on my land, and he continues. Yes, you just need to let the Surveyors Association try and document it and contact the Land Surveyors Association of Jamaica and let them know that you objected to the survey. If someone objects to the surveyor should stop. Okay, so Land Surveyors Association of Jamaica. You can look up for that number and tell them of your objection, the objection that was made by you when the survey was being done. Usually you put your hand on the tape and say, I object. I don't know if they're still doing that. But if somebody objects to a survey, the surveyor should in fact stop. And they have a body that regulates surveyors, the Land Surveyors Association of Jamaica. Please remember, you can send your WhatsApp messages, even though we are nearing the end. You can send your WhatsApp message to 876-868-5109, 876-868-5109, or 876-535-8186, 535-8186. And I'm glad that listeners are appreciating and understanding what is happening. And I appreciate the question the person asked about the tenants, about person being tenants in common. If one person owns the property, one has 3/4, the other one has 1/4, then you're saying that the one who has more should be able to say, hey, that part of the land is mine, that part of the house is mine. But it doesn't work like that. Yes, this person has asked this question before. Jamaicans use the principle of staking when a will is not clear in what section is bequeathed. No, we don't do that. When the will is not clear which section is to go to whom, then it's for the executor to decide. Unless the persons can show that before the testator died, he had already given you that section, which you had put up your house on. But if the will just says the property is to go to so and so, the executor is the one with the casting vote. The executor can say, well, you must take that part at the front, you take that part at the back, you take that part at the side. The executor is in charge, which is why we should choose our executors carefully. Don't just choose a favored child to be the executor, because if that child passes, then that child's executor is going to be in charge of your will. And that's something that I need to look at as well. Something we call a chain of executorship. So the executor of the executor of the executor of the executor is going to be in charge of all those wills, if the executor should pass. And if one person in that chain doesn't make a will, then the chain is broken and it can't work again. So it's always good. And another thing, we can't be willing property to say the kitchen and the bathroom is for one person and so on. So it doesn't work like that. Give fractions of the property. You can put that this is my sincere desire that John should occupy so and so. But you can't be willing this and that, because what happened when the house falls down is the land. So you really should will in fractions. 1/10 of the property to this one, 9/10 to the other one. It is my sincere desire that John should occupy the upstairs and Peter the downstairs, or things like that. But don't will rooms. I'm really sorry that time goes by so quickly. And this is the end of our program this evening, Land Matters, which is aired every Tuesday at 7:30 on Called Gospel Radio. Please remember, you can always send your text messages still, 868-5109 or 535-8186, and I will gladly address them, God willing, next week. My name is Gloria Brown. I'm an attorney with an office in Ocho Rios in the Jamaica National Building and in Winchester Business Center in Kingston. This has been Land Matters. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so very much, Mrs. Brown. That was Attorney at Law Gloria Brown with Land Matters every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Jamaica time, right here on Called Out Gospel Radio, COGR. So whether it's matters of buying, selling, and a subdivision of land, writing and probing will and testaments, acquiring and modifying land titles, and much more, join us right here, Land Matters, every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. on COGR. Don't miss it. Good night. The time is 8 o'clock.
Oh, oh, Heavenly Father, heal our land. Heavenly Father, stretch forth your mighty hand. Show us how to care for our brother. Show us how to love our neighbor. And like a candle, shine your love to let our children know that we care. The soul of the innocent is crying out. Our father is giving up, he's plagued by doubt. A mother has shed her last tear, her heart caged by so much fear. She's crying, oh, oh.